I've learned to kind of slow down a little bit more and take a beat before I now leap because I've gotten myself into some challenging moments. But I just felt so ignited by this. Like I ha just kept on having these downloads of like once I got really clear on, oh my God, this is it. This is the next thing. This feels like so aligned. Nothing could take me off that path. And it was literally, it just felt like weeks of a download. Like everywhere I went, I was just writing things down, putting it in my phone, like voice memoing myself. Like, and I was so ignited by it. Then it was just like, okay, take the next step and take the next step and take the next step.
Welcome to the Fun and Bliss Show,
where fun is our practice.
and bliss is our lifestyle.
I'm Monique.
And I'm Moneeka.
This is a show to help you laugh louder,
Dance more often,
savor the silly and sacred alike,
and turn fun into a blissipline.
so we can live lives of more ease, love, prosperity, and joy.
Let's go!
Hey y'all, this is Monique, your Chief Fun Officer here at Fun and Bliss.
And I am Moneeka, your Chief Bliss Officer. Welcome back to the Fun and Bliss Show.
So today's episode is for the woman who has been through something hard, right? And who hasn't, right? But you're wondering what you get to make from it now, because we all carry wounds, but those wounds do not have to become the place where our story stops.
Absolutely. They can become our wisdom. They can become courage. They can become purpose. They can even become what Tiffany Scott calls our wands, the very things that we use to create something meaningful, powerful, and completely our own.
Yes, and our guest today is Tiffany Scott, and our conversation with her we just had, and you're going to hear in a second, is so special. She talks about choosing courage, stepping out of the corner, and deciding that, and she didn't say this in particular, but this was a takeaway. Being brave is actually so much more fun than hiding.
Yeah. We also talked about becoming who you want to be, especially in the second half of life, because turning 50 does not mean your possibilities are shrinking. It can mean you finally get to choose yourself and more honesty and more freedom and a lot less apology, which I love.
Yeah, and that connects so deeply to what we are all about here at Fun and Bliss, because it takes courage to create a movement. And that courage can create possibility, aliveness, and it gives you access to parts of yourself that fear may have kept hidden.
So if you are standing at the edge of a new chapter, looking for your purpose, or wondering who you get to become from here, this episode is for you.
And before we bring in Tiffany Scott, we have to start the way we always do. So, Moneeka, what was the last thing you did for fun?
I don't remember. I went. I played cards with my parents last night, and it was kind of an unexpected joy because originally we weren't going to get to see each other, but it's so much fun. And mom wins, and she turns into a teenager whenever she wins, so it's super cute. So
Oh,
I
so
really
cute.
enjoyed that. How about you, Monique? What did you do for fun?
All right. So this wasn't like the last thing, but I just this past week I was in Alaska and I got to feed a moose and a reindeer and a bison and an elk and a llama and an alpaca and a Highland cow. So I was at this reindeer farm in
Ooh.
Palmer, Alaska, where you get to well, we didn't get to touch all the animals. Certain animals should not be played with, but so, like, but we got to feed them and play with some of them, and it was so great. And it was so fun.
I
It was
love
so
that.
fun
So I
to.
just have to ask you, what did you feed these animals?
It depended. So,
Okay.
you
Reindeers in
know,
particular is what I'm
the
interested in.
reindeer they got greenery, so it was like branches of
Oh,
this like they were eating leaves off of, we had tree branches and they were eating leaves off
okay.
of that. Also, I got to give them a treat of a dandelion.
Ooh, that's
So,
the treat. I love
yeah,
that.
so they were eating greenery. Some of them got little like pellet treats, but for the most part, most of the animals we were feeding them greenery.
Nice. I
So
love
this is
that.
this is the season where they eat that. And
Mhm.
then when it becomes winter and it gets very wintry and cold up there, then they start to have a different diet. But
Got
now in
it.
the summer, yeah, I was
So
feeding
much
them
fun.
greenery. It's so
Yeah.
cool. It was so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah, it was really fun.
And then we also just had a lot of fun recording this episode with Tiffany. It was so
We
good.
sure did. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. It was really it was such like a like it was an empowering and energizing conversation with Tiffany Scott. I loved it.
Tiffany is the founder and creative director of You, Me, She Fest, an Austin festival where women musicians, artists, entrepreneurs, creators, and small business owners take the stage, share their work, and fully claim the space.
Yes, and before creating this festival, Tiffany had built and sold two women's communities and worked in creative direction for global brands like Speedo. So she knows what it means to follow a vision, become the woman the vision requires, and build something before you have every answer.
Yes. We talked about turning your wounds into wands. I love that, wounds into wands. Why courage is more fun than sitting in the corner, and what it looks like to consciously choose who you want to become after 50.
And inside our deeper conversation, which you can find in our collective, we explore purpose, how to recognize it, how to trust it, and how to let your life experience guide you toward what is yours to create next.
Yeah, and you can find that at funandbliss.com, just so you know. So take a breath, soften your shoulders, and remember your past does not get to decide the size of your future.
And here is our conversation with Tiffany Scott. All right, Tiffany, I'm so glad you are here with us. We're reminiscing before we hit record, and we've been friends for 6 years now, and like met during COVID, and back then, you had a different business, but I want you to take us back to the beginning. What did you see, feel, or experience that made you say, women need a space like the You, Me, She Fest? And why does creating that kind of space feel so important right now?
Oh gosh. I would say my drive, purpose to creating spaces for women. I get asked this a lot, and I would say, we talk about we turn our wounds into wands, part of it, but also I just feel like this is just an untangible thing that I'm meant to do in this world. I think part of it definitely does come from the sister wounds that I've had growing up and also in my adult life where I felt very separated from other women and girls. So I was really, really bullied as a young girl from ages, um, it was like 9 to 13, which is a very impactful age, right? And then it got so bad that my mum took me out of the school and moved me into a different school. And then I had some great years where I remember initially going to this new school and not wanting to be friends with any of the girls. I just distanced myself from the girls and really befriended a lot of the guys. And then I think women are just and girls are just drawn to other girls. Like there's a connection and an understanding that you can't move away from. And then later years, throughout my life, in workplaces and in places that I've lived with other women, I was bullied again. And so it kind of just followed me around per se. And people would say, oh, they're just jealous of you or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, that's what it was. I still don't know what it was. Um, but I'm really grateful for it now in a lot of ways because it just showed me um, what it's like to not feel included and to feel excluded. So I have a lot of empathy and passion around making sure people always feel included and never excluded. So that's helped me with a lot of the work that I've done around making sure in white spaces there are people of color, that are there are LGBTQIA plus people, anyone that feels like they're out of the outskirts of the norm, so to speak. And I'm really, really passionate about that. So, um, and I've traveled a lot. So as I've traveled a lot, have had the very, fortunate experience of being in spaces and places where I was not the majority, and being immersed in cultures that really intrigued me and had those amazing experiences where I got to like dive deeper into what it's like to be walk into other people's shoes. So when I moved to LA from Australia, I didn't know anyone. I was brand new. I had no friends, no family. And so I looked to communities, and where I felt most comfortable was women's communities. However, when I moved to LA, I was going to a lot of networking spaces. I hadn't met you then, Monique.
We hadn't met
Uh,
yet. No,
Um,
unfortunately.
and a lot of those spaces felt really, really masculine to me. And I didn't feel like I belonged in them. And so I created my own, and that grew very, very organically. And then that grew into Sister Suppers, which we briefly talked about. And then that grew into Yumi She Fest. And it was really about creating spaces where women felt seen, celebrated, and connected with one another. And so I've just, over the years, it's morphed and changed and grown now into the festival. And the festival is really about creating a fun, high vibrational, energetic space where women go, I want to be a part of that. But once they cross that threshold, they are connected with women they wouldn't normally connect with. So they're connecting, there's women 18 up to 60 plus. There's women that are Hispanic, Black, from Africa, from Asia, like, they're gay, they're non-binary, they're whatever. They're all cross sections of women. And so in that space where you feel very, very safe, those really powerful conversations and points of connection can happen.
I love that so
Oh,
much.
yeah, I do too. And I can relate to your story so deeply, Tiffany, about being bullied and never fitting in or never feeling like you fit in and all of those things. So yeah, it really resonates with me. And I know it resonates with so many women. The Yumi She Fest. So it sounds, could you explain a little bit more? You gave us a little bite-sized piece, but it sounds like people come in, but it sounded a little bit like a networking event, but I don't think that's what it is. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thanks for helping me clarify. It is definitely not a networking event. It's
Right.
sisterhood, but really a big part of it is it's a platform for rising stars. So whether that's you come on your own and you leave feeling like a star, or you're on our stage as a performer. So we showcase up and coming female and non-binary artists across all genres. So R&B, hip hop, rap, bands, folk, country, all the genres as much as we can. DJs for that day, we give them a stage to be seen and celebrated. And then we have small businesses. So we have a market alley. So women again get to showcase their products and services at the festival. And then we also have self-love workshops. So women come in as experts and they share with women how to deepen into self-love across mind, body, soul, spirit, and wealth. And it's on a woman-owned ranch. So every touch point that we have, whether it's working with our external vendors or our market alley vendors, we try and focus on women-owned businesses. So we have our emergency services team are all women, our security are all women. As many our, like I said, the ranch is women owned. And that's not always easy to focus on that because we are a minority, and it means that we're not always working with the cheapest business either. And so as a startup, that, is very intentional around everything that we do. So as much as we can, we center women.
So you didn't have any festival experience going in. How did you move from I have no festival experience to I'm going to build this thing?
Yeah, I during COVID, I had like I'm sure a lot of people did this time to like really sit and reflect and be still around what I wanted to create and what difference I wanted to make and what I thought was needed in the world. And so as I closed down and sold my other business, I had really time to think about that. And so the festival is all the parts of me that I love and have experienced. And like I said, really about creating a space of fun for women to come into. And so I love going to festivals, music festivals, different types of festivals. I love going to retreats. I've been to Burning Man. I've been to a lot of the major festivals. I have not been to Coachella though. But my background in branding and marketing is I always loved creating experiential experiences. So when I was head of marketing at Speedo for 5 years, we did a lot of grassroots marketing and a lot of community building around clubs, swimming clubs, and things like that, even into high experiential experiences like fashion shows, runways, things like that. And I just loved it. I loved how it just brought people together through this lived experience. And so it's all the combinations and life experience and things that I love to do. And I also love a challenge. And I just felt like a festival was the best experience you could create for a woman where it was immersive. So it's a little bit of like this feeling of retreat meets Burning Man meets ACL Fest, which is big here in Austin. So a combination of all the things that I love. And so I think that the idea creation as a creative is really easy for me. I'm also big into I leap before I think, which has its pros and cons.
I can
So
relate.
We can
I,
relate with that.
I've learned to kind of slow down a little bit more and take a beat before I now leap because I've gotten myself into some challenging moments. But I just felt so ignited by this. Like just kept on having these downloads of like once I got really clear on, oh my God, this is it. This is the next thing. This feels like so aligned. Nothing could take me off that path. And it was literally, it just felt like weeks of a download. Like everywhere I went, I was just writing things down, putting it in my phone, like voice memoing myself. And I was so ignited by it. Then it was just like, okay, take the next step and take the next step and take the next step. And as you know, when you create something, you get to a point where you start taking the steps and then it starts to get really hard and reality sinks in and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Can I really do this? Can I hold this? Is this really possible? Am I completely crazy? Like I have no experience, I have no funding, I have no backing. And it happened and it was not without challenges and stress headaches and all the things. But again, I feel like I talk about this a lot, like having that North Star, that vision, that mission, that purpose, all those challenges and those roadblocks and wake up in the middle of the night of like, this is crazy. What am I doing? Like, she's doing it better and I have no experience and I'm going to go broke and I'm going to be homeless. Like, it's just all those things where I was like, no, the world needs this. And I didn't answer your question, Monique, like why do women need this more than ever? I mean, where do we even start? We could get into the political side of things. We could get into like, just the oppression of women that still exists today, the pay inequity, really being able to create spaces where women feel ignited by one another, where they see examples of one another of going, hey, this is possible. I had a conversation with a woman today about creating a feminine-led economy, and I know that you both connect and relate to that. So the more that we create money and make money, the more that we do good, and it's been shown time and time again. So that's a big reason why we need it. We need to create money that goes back into the right places and spaces.
Love that.
Yeah, we keep saying I love that because it's all so good. I have to tell you, Tiffany, I am going through all of that you just talked about right now. I'm creating my very first, what do you call it? Feature film. I get so nervous and overwhelmed by it. I can't even say it sometimes. But, but yes, all of those pieces, right? The doubt, the what am I doing? Everybody else does it so much better than me. I actually just wrote a post on Facebook that said, every single person on the set knew more about filmmaking than I do, and I'm the executive producer. But even worse, every single animal on that set knew about more about being on set than I did, so it's one of those things. And I know, yeah, actually wouldn't mind a little advice around this, but when that doubt shows up, like how do you talked about a North Star, but talk to me about plugging into that North Star, plugging into that feeling of the mission. Like, why does this still need to exist? Why does this still need to happen? Right?
Yeah, one thing I will say before I go into that part is I actually in you are at an advantage when you don't know what you're doing to some degree because you
Mm,
have new perspectives, new ideas, you're not bogged down in the way things should be done, and you can do it differently and more creatively, and you bring a new aspect. So I think that's in your favor, and that's what
thank
I do.
you.
But it's not always good to know everything, you know? So yeah, I think on those days where I have, which it's always as it gets closer and closer to the festival, which is we're 6 weeks out now, the doubt comes even, rears its head even more. It's just like, oh my God, am I going to be able to pull this off again? I've got so many moving pieces. I've got to keep so many people happy. Should I just give up? Let me just give up. But I can't give up because I know in my soul and being, and maybe this is my ego, who knows, the world needs this. And if I don't do it, then what do I do? You know? And I've come back to this time and time enough to know that, I mean, what would I do? I would feel like I have no purpose, no meaning, no being. I feel like I would be letting a lot of people down now, like my team, my community. Again, I've walked away from things before and everyone's okay. You know, I don't think it would be the end of the world. But I do feel like as I get older and now I'm in my 50s, this is kind of like, my last hurrah in some ways. I feel like I can't turn back. I don't want to turn back. As I enter into my second part of my life, this feels like the thing that I want to go all the way in on. And so if it's not this, it's going to be something similar or something with the same purpose. But to answer your question in short, when I feel those times of doubt, I just come back to my vision. What do I want to create? What lights me up? Why am I doing this? And I think if you're in search of a mission, then spending that time to get really clear on what it is and having that feeling that really ignites you up is really, really powerful and important. Because when you go through those times of doubt, which you have many, many of them, you just come back to that feeling of what ignited you in the first place, that truth that burns inside of you, just that knowing. And, the knowing that you can't even put words around, the knowing of like, I shared around the bullying. Yes, that's a part of it, but that's not all of it. It's just that deep knowing of like, this is inside of me. This is what I'm meant to do in this lifetime.
So good.
Thank you for that.
You talked about, the why this, why now, why women, why it's important to have these women only spaces in this time and place, and it's built into the whole ecosystem of what you're creating. I want to ask you a question about like just being just women being present. So, what does it look like when a woman goes from being present in a room to truly taking up space in it?
Yeah, that question just gave me chills because whew, it's so hard to put words to. And when you come to the festival and you know this, when you're in very women focused spaces, there is an energy and a magic that is visible and invisible at the same time. So when I watch, literally, it feels like they cross a threshold. Like when they walk through those festival gates, their energy shifts. There's a smile on their face. They radiate. They they instantly feel free. They're feeling seen. And this is why we're really strict about no and this may get me in trouble, but there are no men on the premises at all for 10 hours. They can come before and help, and they can come after and help. But when there's no male energy in that space, something shifts in a woman where she can feel really connected with herself. All the noise, whether it's one man or many, something shifts. And that's not, I'm not blaming men. It's not their fault. It's just a different experience when you're like, oh, it's the noise just goes away. And so when women are in that space, they go deeper, they have conversations they wouldn't always have when there's that energy around. They're cheering each other on like fiercely with fire. They're sitting in rooms in these self-love workshops where they're doing things that they would never normally do. They're connecting with ideas and memories and a deeper knowing within themselves that you just can't do when you're in those spaces where men are participating in some sort of way. So I think more spaces like that where we get to actually feel that, the better.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. You said it sort of hesitantly, like this might get me in trouble. But men do the same thing. You know, they react very differently to their world and the people that they're with when us women are not around. But and they value that a lot more than we tend to value that. I think as women, we don't make it a priority. We make everybody else a priority. We make our men a priority. But the men are out there going playing golf with the other men without the women around, without their wives around. There are invitations, and then there are events that they do without the wives. So I love that you have created this space where we're almost forced, right, to really focus on this is my space. This is a women's space. Like even some of us women that would be like, oh, I'd really like to share this with my sweetie. Like, no, we're not going to do that, right? Somehow they set a better boundary about that than we do in the past. That's obviously changing because of events like yours. And thank you so much for that. And this is really aligned with bliss, is that idea that we can create space for the things that we really need. And one of those things is sisterhood, right? And that we can really unclench and let go in those spaces and allow bliss to flow through us and with everybody around us. Can you share a moment from the You Me She Fest when you watched a woman actually, and you touched on this a little bit, but I'd like a little deeper story. She became more confident or expressive or alive because she really felt seen and celebrated.
Yeah, there's many. Honestly, seeing the women on stage, so the performers that get up on stage in this space that, have been performing for years and years and years, but never in a space like this, and just seeing how much they're celebrated and cheered no matter where they're at in their musical career. So watching them light up, watching them get off the stage and say thank you, that was amazing. Like I've never felt so seen and so safe before. Seeing women in the workshops like really, really have aha moments and connect, and then do that in sisterhood and turn around and hug another woman. Seeing a woman, we have a pool at the ranch, and I had a woman that I met at a networking event, just oh gosh, it was like 6 months after the festival, and she was like, "Oh, I was at your festival," and she said, I sat in the pool for hours with someone's mum. And so just those moments of connection of like, whether it's through the music or through a deeper conversation they've had with someone or through the workshops or, going and sitting with a market vendor, like those are and the unseen moments that I was telling you about it. There's so many of them. Yeah.
Love that. So you have the Yumishi Fest. You also do some smaller events, right? Activations. Like there was one that I was totally inspired by this, and like, Moneeka, we need to steal or borrow the idea of a picnic, right?
Oh, that's where this came from.
Yeah,
I love that.
Tiffany I was like, we can do a beach picnic here. But And so when you're designing these events, and you mentioned multiple times how like fun, like this needs to be fun. So how intentionally are you thinking about fun and joy, freedom, surprise, play,
Yep,
not just what people do, but how they'll feel?
all the time. That's the center of everything. Like what do we do that makes them feel celebrated, seen, and surrounded in sisterhood? So our values are celebration, self-love, and sisterhood. You can see it behind me. So they are all always the through line of everything that we do. Like I said, I'm creative. I'm a creative director by trade in marketing, and so the way things look and feel are always very intentional through what I do. But even with the team, as soon as we're talking about we're doing some deep festival planning right now, and I was like, there was a volunteer last year. She's volunteered with me for quite a few years now, and so many of the photos of her at check-in are hugging people as they walk in. So just those experiences, like I talk about the threshold because I feel like every time they just walk through those gates, they literally are crossing a threshold. So we're very intentional about what do we want the women to feel when they are in our space. And that doesn't have to be like you spend thousands of dollars on the signage and the, I don't know, the music or whatever it is. Like it literally is those little moments of setting an intention even of, okay, this experience is going to be about sisterhood. Because the magic of that is that, again, women will do it if they feel safe. I can create the container, and those containers can look very different in different ways, like the picnic. That was a very different container from the festival. And it was just literally in a park. We brought a DJ. We said, everyone wear pink. We had snacks. We had drinks. And then the women came, and there was a conga line, and there was like women meeting women. And it was just amazing. I didn't say get in a conga line. I didn't say get up and dance. It just started to happen because we created that container. And the festival is like triple the size of that. Sure, it's on a beautiful women-owned ranch, and it's very well designed, and it's all the spaces are created very intentionally, but it's the women that make that special.
Tiffany, I want to go back a little bit and forgive me for backtracking, but I'm kind of being like I'm hearing in my head that I have to ask this question or make this comment. But you said something about maybe that, I can't not do it. Maybe that's just my ego and everything will be okay, but I just can't. And I can't not do it. And I feel like this a lot myself. And I think a lot of women that are listening, and I know Monique has the same feeling of I'm just pulled. And sometimes we question the mission, right? And you mentioned maybe that's just my ego, like your ego is a bad thing. And so I just want to address that. This is one of the chapters in my book, Choose Bliss, which is the ego is your friend. So be careful with this. Obviously, I know that this flies in the face of what everybody says, but the mission is a spiritual calling. The ego allows us to be the feet on the ground for the mission. The ego is the action taker. So you don't want to be overwhelmed by your ego and let it take over everything that you do. You want it to be guided by the spiritual mission and your spiritual self. But if you allow that partnership, then the mission can become so much bigger than if you were to become completely egoless and not take action. Not
True.
that egoless people don't take action. I'm just saying that we have that resource to help us to stay motivated, to push. To push is a harsh word, but do you understand what I'm saying? To like move forward, to create inertia and momentum. And because of that, you have created this incredible space for women. And I just want to celebrate that union of your spiritual mission with your ego. So thank you for doing that for all of us.
Thank you. And thank you for reminding me of that. I think again, it's interesting as a woman that is learning how to take up space and creates a lot of space for other women, we still fall back into that patriarchal, like, oh, I can't be too much. I can't show up too much. I can't take up too much space. I can't be too ego driven because then that's not spiritually aligned. So
Mhm.
that's such a good reminder of like it is a balance of both. We are humans having, what do we say? We are souls having a human experience, right? So having that balance of both is a really, really great reminder. So, okay, ego, you're on
Yes.
my.
Yeah. Let's
Partnership.
be in partnership. Yes.
Love that.
Yes. Yeah.
So on this show, we talk a lot about disciplines, which are, the habits and ways of being that help our lives feel more joyous and spacious and alive and fun. So what are your disciplines? What are habits, rituals, boundaries, or ways of being that help you stay connected with yourself, especially while you're building something so ambitious?
Oh, I love this because I've really just started to deepen into my blissibum again. Did I say it right?
Disciplines.
Disciplines. Instead of disciplines, they're disciplines.
Disciplines. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I am a great worker. I can work really hard. Speaking of ego, it makes me feel important. It makes me feel like I'm in control. It makes me feel like you know, I'm doing all the right things. And I'm also realizing that has served me to a point. It's very masculine energy a lot of the time, and that's good. But I also need the other side. And so when we did the first official festival last year, I did not allow a lot of time for fun because I was just head down. I got to get it done. I'm holding this container. I've got to make sure everyone's okay. Like, what if I fail? And I had a stress headache for 2 weeks straight. I was still going to the gym. I was still working out. I was eating okay. I was doing the bare minimum that I knew would get me through. And it was also like not having a lot of fun, not going out, not playing, doing those things because I got to do all the things, you know? So this year I set an intention with myself and I was like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to put myself through that. It always works out. Not always the way that you think it's going to, but it always works out. I'm not going to die. If I have some unhappy people, I know how to work through that. It's going to be okay because my heart is in the right place. And so, what I've really been doing this year is getting up earlier, which is I don't love because I love sleep, but it means going to bed earlier, and getting up earlier. And I've been going for really long walks and connecting with nature. And that has been exceptionally grounding for me.
Mm.
So I just start the day in such a better way. I'm very, very fortunate. I live in Austin. I live across from Town Lake. I can walk by the water every morning, touch the trees, touch the earth. The ground that I walk on is, most of it is dirt and gravel. So it's kicking up into my shoes, which is annoying, but it's obviously really for my soul. And that's been a game changer. And so I've been really disciplined with that for a couple of months now where I just get up and I go. And so that's a big one for me. And then the other things are allowing play in my life. So again, just making sure I'm very introverted. So to get me out of the house is an effort. But I also love being around people as well. So I just know how to like when I need to dive in and when I need to come back. And so spending more time with the people that I love. I also live in an apartment complex where I'm very lucky where I've built a really, really great community. So I'll go over to my friend's place and we'll cook dinner and watch something on TV. We'll go hang out by the pool and grill with my fellow neighbors. So I have this really beautiful balance now where I'm infusing more play into what I do. I'm going to see live music. Austin's full of live music. I'm going to go and watch the new series of Ted Lasso at a bar tonight. So just being more intentional around how and who I spend my time with and making sure that I'm connecting with nature.
Mm.
Love that.
Wow, that is really, really awesome. Talk to me a little bit about bliss and at this point in your life, what does bliss or having a blissful life really mean to you in everyday terms?
Simplicity, honestly.
Mhm.
I I think as humans we can get caught up in drama, in overthinking, overdoing. So I'm really trying to really focus on what feels easier for me. And that is being creative. That is spending time with my dog who's getting older. That is spending more intentional time with my friends. That is being on the water, in the water, around the water. So just simplifying and giving myself more time and space. It's very easy to get caught up in the busyness of life. And I've noticed how that really dysregulates me. So that feels blissful, that feels easeful, that feels, yeah, it just feels lighter when I'm in those times.
What is really exciting you right now? That could be with the festival and your creative life, or simply in who you are becoming. What's exciting you now?
Yeah, I definitely the festival. I'm really excited about it this year because it's officially year two. The first year is hard because there's just so many unknowns. And this past year, I've been able to create deeper connections with community members here, community leaders here in Austin. And so our programming is really, really fun. Like we've got some amazing things happen. We have an all women's skate group that are going to be doing demonstrations there. We have dance performances. We have an aerialist. We have live art happening. It's just going to be such a fun day. So there's that. There's also, you asked me this, like I turned 50, I'm 51 now. I turned 52 in January, and 50 was a huge turning point for me. And so I'm really sitting with this version of me that I'm falling deeper and deeper in love with. And so that's exciting because it's not easy. I talk about having self-love workshops at the festival, and I want to be an example of what that looks like. And it is a journey. And so I was talking about another podcast around this. Like my 40s were really hard. My 30s were great. They had their challenges, but my 40s were just a really hard decade for me. And so being on the, decade by decade, being on the other side of that, I feel like 50 is like almost a rebirth. And so it's been challenging because 50 has such a stigma to it in this society. And so really kind of just filtering through what that is and what that means as I age and my body ages and becoming the invisible woman, not being seen by the male gaze, all those sorts of things that change, so to speak. How do I dress now? Do I dress my age? Can I still wear this? So many things that have come up for me since turning 50 that I never even thought about before. And so just playing with what that is for me as I head into this second stage of my life. And it's exciting, and it's daunting at times, but this last year particularly, like really diving into who do I want to be now that I'm 51 years old? Who do I get to be? And also caring less about what other people think.
I love that you
Love that.
talk about what do you get to be. That's amazing. My little sister gave me a sign and it's hanging next to my mirror in my bathroom, so I see it all the time. But it says, in a world that glorifies self-doubt,
Mm,
loving yourself is a form of rebellion.
yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, and she actually when she gave it to me, I was so touched. She said, "You're the only person I know that actually really likes yourself."
Oh,
And that was so touching to me because that feels like an accomplishment too, right? Because self-love is a thing. It's something we have to constantly remind ourselves is important. So I love that you're really falling much more in love with your life. It's amazing.
That's great. That's also so sad. So sad, but she doesn't know anyone
But
else who loves herself.
no,
So
I mean, people love themselves, but I think that there's definitely something about a woman that really owns it. And I
100%.
think that in our 50s, I mean, she's in her 40s, right? In our 50s is when we really step into that, right? And I'm 57, so I've had 7 years of that transition, Tiffany, to really, really like land and take my stand in that footprint, right? So, but I think it's a constant evolution for us women, you know? Tiffany, on our show, we like to invite our listeners into what we call a fun and bliss spark. It's a fab spark. And it's a little experiment that we invite the listeners to perform this week. And so, do you have something? This isn't supposed to be a big transformation. It's not a big project. It's not, self-help. It's just a tiny little experiment that they can engage in that will help them to feel like they can claim their space.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Oh, an experiment, something that they could do to claim their space.
yeah, or have more fun or
Or, yeah, it could
Um,
be anything, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's taking the tiny steps. So whether it's claiming more space or having more fun or finding more bliss, whatever you resist persists. And so sometimes we make the thing so big that we don't do it at all and it feels overwhelming. And so something I am practicing is taking up more space. So I am a pretty shy person and it could be as simple as like the easy thing for me is when I'm at a restaurant and I drink a lot of iced tea and they'll bring me an iced tea and often not often, sometimes the iced tea is off. It's stale. It's been sitting there for too long and it does not taste good. And what I'm practicing doing is sending that iced tea back and
Mm.
asking to make a fresh one. The old me would not do that. I would just like put it aside and not drink it and say it's fine. And so those little micro acts lead into bigger actions of really being in alignment of taking up space or having more bliss or more self-love. So I would just say practice the little things. Whatever it is that you feel like you have a roadblock towards is do the little thing and then it gets easier and then it gets easier and then you find what it is that you're really looking for.
I love
Mm.
that.
I do too.
That's a great idea. Okay. Practice that this week. All right. We are going to conclude with our fun and bliss laser round. So these are quick, playful, completely unpolished. You can just give the first answer that comes to mind. Okay. So one, what's your go-to when you need an instant joy boost?
My dog, hugging dog, instant.
Yeah,
Dogs
we
are the
can.
best for that.
Yeah, we both can relate to that one. What's one thing that never fails to make you laugh?
Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, that's a good one. I probably, I mean, a good sitcom.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Like Ted
Uh,
Lasso.
Lasso. Oh, I just finished binge watching Shrinking,
Oh,
and
I loved that one.
you know, Blackish is another one that I love. I'll watch that on repeat. That makes me laugh. It's clever. Yeah, a good sitcom.
Mm.
Love it. What do you do for fun these days?
Friend time.
Hmm.
Time. I had a great time this past weekend celebrating a friend's birthday, and we went and saw some live music. So that is the next thing I'm trying to do is just, again, in the lead up to the festival, but more live music as well. It just changes your whole being.
Finish this sentence. Bliss for me looks like.
Community.
Mm.
Hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
Those are such perfect answers. Before we let you go, although we're going to be going into our deep dive conversation. So for you all who want to see us go deeper, and I have some topics that I that I want to go like a little deeper in, especially around this question of what do I want to be and who do I get to be, and like, you know,
Yes.
fun after 50. I think that could be really juicy. But we'll have a juicy conversation so that you guys can join us in the Fun and Bliss Collective community. But so people can hear more there. But what is the best way for people to connect with you, Tiffany, now and to find out more about what you were up to?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. That's our main kind of place we hang out. So at You, Me, She Fest, You, Me, She Fest. Website at You, Me, She Fest. TikTok, although I haven't mastered that playground yet, at You, Me, She Fest. Or email hey sis at youmeshefest.com.
Hey, sis.
Hey
Love
sis.
that.
I love that. That's awesome. And do you happen to have any free gifts or resources or offering that you'd like to share with our audience
Uh,
or an event?
yeah, I mean, we could, I'm not sure when this comes out, but the festival is September 19th. So I'll set up a code, Fun and Bliss. That'd be a good one, Fun and Bliss,
Mm-hmm.
for $10 off a festival ticket. If anyone wants to come to Austin, you can camp, you can glamp there. It's a good time.
Thank you so much for that. Yay.
All right. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. And we are going to be continuing this in the collective. So
Thank you.
I'm
See you
excited.
later, guys. Monique, oh my goodness, that conversation was so honest and so energizing and so full of possibility.
It really was. It was so good. And I want to make sure y'all caught one of the biggest things that I think Tiffany shared, because this I think was the nugget that's going to stay with me the most, that you can turn your wounds into wants.
I just love that one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
the things that hurt you do not have to become the things that diminish you. In her case, it was getting bullied as a kid, and even later, and that could have made her shrink, but that became wisdom. It became fuel, and and it can become for all of us the tools that help us to create change.
Yeah, and I can really relate to that because I was bullied both as a child through my teenage years as an adult. So I totally get that. And what we're not saying is not to honor those things that hurt us because it is important to also recognize what it cost us to experience those things. But it does mean that they don't have to define us. Pain is not the final word. We get to choose what we make from it.
Yeah. And Tiffany's reframe around that was so good. Also, that she had so much courage in starting this thing where she had no experience. Well, she had, no direct experience in creating something so big and ambitious, but you can tap into courage, and it is so much more fun than just sitting around. And hiding may feel safer for a moment, but it's not enlivening. And courage is where you get to meet new people. It's where you get to try the thing. It's where you get to surprise yourself. It's where life starts opening up again. And courage does not mean that you do not have doubts.
Fear.
Yeah, or fear, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
acting despite the doubts and the fears.
Yeah, drawing energy from that fear. And if you are one of our high achieving women listening and you have been waiting to feel fearless before you make a move, here is your reminder. Courage does not mean fear disappears. It means fear does not get in the way and does not make every decision for you.
Yes. I also really loved our conversation about who we get to become after we turn 50. There's so much messaging that women get about, needing to be smaller, quieter, less visible as we age. But with our conversation with Tiffany, she offered a completely different invitation. We get to decide who we are now. We get to
Yeah.
decide.
We get to decide, right? The version of ourselves that we were when we were 25 or when we were 35 or even when we were 45, those don't necessarily fit who we want to be today. Today we can choose, right? You can choose to be more bold, to be bolder, to be more playful, to have a new purpose. I think that's one of the things that's really driving me right now. Not a new purpose, but a new way to express that, right? You can build life that reflects who you are becoming, not who you have always been.
Yeah. And our fab spark that Tiffany, our fun and bliss fab spark that Tiffany left us with is really about that and helping you take up more space, but it's basically choose one tiny courageous action towards like being more
Yeah.
every week. Just like taking those tiny courageous actions.
And she gave a really good example. Like
Yeah.
for her, she's a person that when she goes to a restaurant, whatever's served to her, she just takes it. But she drinks a lot of iced tea, so she's an iced tea connoisseur, and she knows when it's gone stale. And normally she wouldn't say anything. And so now when she gets stale iced tea, she makes a point of kindly asking them to make her fresh iced tea because it's stale. And it's really hard for her. It takes a lot of courage, but it's a step of reinforcement for her that she's kind of taking her own space and
Yeah.
she's getting what she wants, right? So we can do tiny little things that remind us that we matter and exercise that courage muscle.
100%. So for you all, it might mean speaking up, applying for an opportunity that maybe you don't feel completely qualified for, going to an event alone, sharing an idea, trying something you've never done before, asking who do I want to be in this next chapter, and then taking that one tiny step in that direction.
Yeah, so that's the Fab Spark. And it is your assignment this week. And the assignment is to actually do it. Do not just nod along and take one small courageous action. It doesn't need to be dramatic or big. It just needs to be a move forward for your aliveness.
Yeah. And if you carry something difficult from your past, there's a wound there, ask yourself one powerful question. How could this wound become a wand? What has it taught you? What strength has it revealed? And what might it help you create, offer, or understand now?
And if this conversation lit something up in you, do not let the spark disappear when you press stop. Come join us inside the Fun and Bliss Collective at funandbliss.com. That is where Tiffany and I and us, we continue the conversation and go even deeper into choosing who you want to become after 50 and finding the purpose that is calling you into your next chapter.
Yes, inside the collective, you will get access to that bonus conversation, plus other bonus conversations that we have had, plus a whole community of women choosing to have more courage, more fun, more joy, more reinvention, and more permission in real life.
Yes. So you can join us at funandbliss.com. Click the link to join the collective. We would love to have you in the room with us. And if you want to experience what Tiffany is building, visit her site at youmeshefest.com. youmeshefest.com to learn more about You Me She Fest. And Tiffany also has a special offer for our listeners only. If you would like to go to the festival this year, you can use the code Fun and Bliss for a $10 discount off the festival tickets. And Monique has written down Fun ampersand Bliss. Try if that one doesn't work, then try AND. So Fun and Bliss.
Yes. So, but we go to the website, funandbliss.com. There you will get a link to the page and with the festival code.
Yeah.
And before you go, do one thing for not just for yourself, but for a really special person in your life. That person, that woman who needs this reminder.
You know exactly who she is, the woman who has been sitting in the corner all of her life, the friend who thinks it is too late to reinvent herself, the one who needs to remember that what she has been through may be connected to what she is here to do next. Send this episode to her right now. She will thank you.
Yes, she will. So, and we thank you for being here with us on the Fun and Bliss Show.
Remember, your wounds can become wands. Courage is more fun than hiding, and you are never too old to choose who you want to become.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have fun.
Thank you for tuning in to the Fun and Bliss Show.
Where fun is our practice.
And bliss is our lifestyle.
If this episode sparked your joy,
share it, subscribe, and join the movement.
Stay fun.
Stay blissful.
And see you next time.
I'm a spark, I'm a flame, ooh yeah, moving through the endless game. Every turn, every sway, colors burst, light in the way. Feel the rhythm, feel the fire. Every step takes us higher. I'm bliss in motion, can you see? Dancing through life wild and free. Spreading joy, spreading light. Together we shine so bright, so bright, so bright, so bright. Feet on the